People, how's everybody doing? I'm hoping everybody's having a beautiful day. Today, I got a young man with me. Say your platform.
What's going on, y'all? Conversations with Jay. Conversations, Khan with Jay. Bersations with Jay.
Copy. You're on YouTube, correct?
YouTube, Conversations with Jay on YouTube.
Y'all just did a panel the other day. I believe it was on Sunday.
It was this past Sunday, that's correct.
Yeah, tell me about what y'all were speaking about real quick.
We spoke about the trial thus far, and we wanted to challenge both of the sides, right? We always want to play it fair, because the more you can challenge the prosecution, the more you legitimize the defense, and the more you could challenge the defense, you can legitimize the prosecution. For me, I grew up in debate classes and law classes, and they always used to make us have to argue for the other side in order to understand your own argument. And even growing up in the church, I always challenge the church so I can understand if I'm in the right place or not. So I think it's always great to be able to challenge both sides.
So real quick, your perspective of how the trial is going. I'm not asking you about guilt or innocence. I just want to know your perspective of how the trial is going.
Well, I think the trial has been kind of like a roller coaster. I mean, to be honest with you, we thought this trial was going to be a little bit longer than now it's supposed to be. They say it's going to be wrapped up by this week. We thought it was going to go into next week a little bit. So a few days shorter than it was supposed to be is how we are now. So that kind of threw me for a loop. But also, I think the trial's been pretty fair by the judge. There were some decisions that the judge made that I would say weren't the best, but he gave good answers as to why he made those decisions. And so far, I think the trial's been going fair, and we're wrapping up shorter than we thought we would.
Okay, so real quick, so I was talking with him a moment ago, and we were discussing some of the evidence that we're hearing that was not actually put together for some of the forensic individuals that was putting together a timeline. How do you feel about the prosecution leaving out what couldn't be relevant information for the timelines that they were creating in order to be able to give to the jury?
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword for the prosecution, right? And that's what we were talking about. At a certain point, I think they made the mistake with Cassie. With Cassie, they left out a whole bunch of stuff, and then on cross, the defense brought up all of these crazy messages that totally made her look like she was consensual. And so after they got sliced and diced with the Cassie cross-examination and the Brianna cross-examination, I feel like what the prosecution has now been doing is they've been including more and more information that makes him look innocent, because they don't want the defense to bring up that information. And the reason why that's important is because if you're a jury or a juror and you think that somebody is leaving out information, you stop trusting them. And if you do that all trial, where you think you have a story and then the defense comes and crushes your story with all the information that you left out, then you're going to feel like you've been fooled this entire time. And I think that's very important. As at the same time, this is a fine line for the prosecution, because they don't want to introduce too much evidence that makes him look innocent, because then it's like, well, you're working against yourself. But on the other side, you have to still include stuff that the defense will bring up that will discredit you.
So the question is, so do you believe that these information that the defense is now getting the actual witness to admit that they did not have, do you think that invalidates some of the arguments that the prosecution might have had?
It's a good question. I don't think it invalidates, I don't think it invalidates arguments that the prosecution has. I just feel like it brings up a question as to whether the prosecution should have been bringing these charges in the first place. Like, I mean, if you had all the evidence and you had all the text messages and you had some text messages that were saying, hey, I want to do this, and some text messages that were booking hotel rooms, and you left out the text messages that say, hey, I want to do this, like, why did you charge them? Like, if you're gonna leave those out in order to charge, like, if I give you the whole, if you have the whole story as a prosecution, I don't believe that he should have been charged in the first place. I'll give you a perfect example. There's two victims here. The third victim said, I don't want a part of it. And then there's two other victims, Jane Doe and Cassie. However, Jane Doe was with him until he was basically arrested.
Alleged victims.
Alleged victims. Yes, my bad. 2 alleged victims. Jane Doe was with him until he got arrested. So, but he was being investigated 9 months before she turned into a victim.
And he is still paying all of her bills, basically.
Exactly.
Her home.
Yeah.
And
So what I'm seeing is they had 1 alleged victim. RICO has a 5-year statute of limitation. Now it does have a 10 years where you have 10 years period to prove 2 of the predicate acts in order to prove a pattern of racketeering. But Cassie and Puff broke up more than 7 years ago. So they needed Jane Doe in order to even bring on RICO because Jane
Statute
Doe...
of limitations.
Exactly. So now when you start seeing the whole story, you're like, wait a minute, this is all Cassie. They called, oh, this victim, there's going to be these victims, victim number 1, whatever. You realize this was all Cassie, and the prosecution, knowing that this was Cassie the entire time and investigated him about this, went and recruited Jane Doe to be a new alleged victim. And that just seems like if you had all the information already, why did you charge him with something like RICO?
That's interesting. Okay, so as far as you can see right now, the prosecution could have done a couple of things different in order to make their case a little bit stronger or not look as weak as it can look to some individuals. This is what you're saying.
Yes, and this is not just what I'm saying. This is also what the defense is saying.
No, I'm not arguing with you.
No, I know. But what I'm saying, the defense is saying it too, because the defense's witness list dwindled. Last week, they were asking can you narrow down your witness list because it's so huge and we don't know which ones are going to be on the stand, which ones aren't going to be on the stand. That's what the prosecution said last week. This week, we've got 0 witnesses. So if your witness list dwindles down further and further and further, I don't know what mainstream media is telling you, but logic tells you the prosecution's case is getting weaker and weaker as time goes on.
And the defense doesn't feel like
and
they
the
need all
defense
these people.
doesn't need all these people. And now they're like, I don't need anybody.
Got a different question. So we would assume that some of these people that were on the victims, the witness list, was basically probably just individuals that were going to say, give character witnesses, right? Do you think that it's going to be a big deal that Puff might not have that many character witnesses? Do you think that would shine well on him or not, for him to not have character witnesses, people that's willing to get on the stand and say, this guy's a good guy. This isn't what you see in this trial isn't the totality of who this man is. He actually does some great things in the community and yada yada and this and this and that. You think that that's a big deal that he might not have as many or any character witnesses?
Well, I think 2 things. The first thing I do believe is that they weren't going to have character witnesses in the first place. And the reason why I believe that they weren't going to is because they already turned all of the people that the prosecution brought onto the stand into character witnesses. When Cassie says he did love me, or he did do things for me, or he did care about me. When Jane Doe says he's still paying my rent, even now that I'm flipped, and he's still paying my rent, and he's paying the lawyer that's here in the courtroom representing me now. It goes to his character, right? When they ask the assistant, what do you think about him? And I think he's great, the assistant said they still like him, they still think he's great. When you got the CFO on the stand saying, hey, he's an inspiration to me, he inspired me. When you ask Cassie something like, hey, do you still love Puff? And she pauses and then says, I love our past. Like, these are all their own prosecution witnesses, right? So to me, they already used those questions to say that he's not the guy that the prosecution is trying to say that he is, when their own witnesses are saying good things about him on the stand. So I don't think that they would have, so I don't think it's a big deal. However, I do believe what they would have called as witnesses are the escorts. Notice the prosecution only called 2 escorts. The only 2 escorts they called on the stand both said they were paid whether or not they had S. And so that means if you're paid whether you have S or not, then you're not paid for S.
That's a fact.
So the only way you get these charges is if you're paid specifically for S, because there has to be a commercial S act. And that's the Mann Act charge, and that's the S trafficking charge. It has to be a commercial S act. It has to be S in exchange for value. But if somebody says we're not paid for S, we choose to have S voluntarily if we so feel like it, but we were never paid for it. I feel like obviously the two escorts that I already put on the stand already said that, but I felt like the defense would put more escorts on the stand to say, no, we're not paid for S. And if you're not paid for S, you don't have the commercial element of the S Act, therefore you have no trafficking, and therefore you have no Mann Act, and therefore, what are we here for?
That's pretty interesting. Hey, love the time with you, Jay.
Hey, you got it, brother. I appreciate you, my man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'll see you in the courtroom.
Yeah, man. I need to come up on your page sometime.
I appreciate it. Maybe this weekend, we'll try to get a live.
I'm with God on Sunday.
Maybe Saturday we might try to do something. But yeah, I'd love to have
you.
Got
my
on,
Instagram?
Man. No, let me take it down, please. I have your channel, but I don't have your Instagram. But, it's better to communicate on that. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. I'll see you upstairs.
Send a message, because I will not know if you don't send a message.
Yeah, 100%. You got it, bro.
Salute.
All right, man.
Yo, that was Jay from Conversations with Jay. I think that was a great orator. I think he's a pretty good orator. I think he broke it down really well, his perspective. And as y'all know, I'm not here to argue anybody's perspective with you. If you think left, think left. I'm not trying to get you to think right. Think right, think right. I'm not trying to get you to think left. I just want to understand why you're thinking these things. I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to switch up the way anybody thinks or anybody feel about nothing. I would just like to know why you feel that way. That's it. And I think he gave a good explanation. I think we had two people on yesterday. We had my homie, and we also had Tissa Tales on yesterday. And they had two different perspectives. And I think that both of them arranged their argument in a great way, really well. So, we're going to see if we can get a couple of more people, maybe a little bit later in the day, at the end of the day. We're going to see if we can get a couple of more people to come on here, talk, let us know their perspectives. No, I don't want to talk to none of the weirdo wackos that want to argue. I don't want to talk to none of you. I've more power to you. I hope you, on whatever you're doing, I hope you're successful, with the exception of when you trying to fuck with me. I hope you're successful. But no, none of the wackos, just real content creators that got real perspectives, or just real people. I don't even care if you create content. That got real perspectives. I'm not here to argue with nobody. I just want to know why you think what you think, and I would love to get a breakdown. Now, with that being said, in court today, they have another one of the forensic guys that went over the text messages and the videos, and they set up a timeline after aggregating all of those things. And like what he just said, I thought it was wild. Once again, the prosecution has been exposed for not giving their own people all of the information in order for them to do their best job. And I think, in just my opinion, I think that that's hurtful to the prosecution. He didn't do nothing, fam. I hope this guy don't get himself locked up. He's out here minding his business. I hope he don't get himself locked up. Hey, that's Conversations with Jay. That's his page? Shout out to that guy. Might have been his assistant. He has a whole assistant, man. That's why I need a girlfriend. I need an assistant too, fam. In any regard. So, once again, the prosecution has been exposed for not taking all of the information and giving it to their own people. So their own people don't even have all the information in order for them to make these charts and these graphs that they're then showing to the jury. So I don't know how the jury is going to accept that. I don't know if we should expect for them to have all the conversations, because remember, this is over a long period of time. There's no telling how many. Is this the smoking area? Like, there's so many other places to smoke other than right here. So I don't know if this is the how do you say, you know, because there was a lot of, oh, he just vaping. I don't really care about the vaping that much. The vaping is fine. It's I hate cigarette smoke to death, in any regard. So what they have is the prosecution not giving all the information to their own people. So I would like to know what the jury thinks about that. We've interviewed one of the jurists from the Alpo trial. Maybe we interview one of the jurists from here after the trial is over. I don't know. But this is the type of thing that jurists find a little bit weird when there is relevant information that they feel like the prosecution isn't giving them. And I would like to know if they feel like some of this information that the prosecution isn't giving them is relevant. I would like to know that maybe, because remember, these are text messages and video messages and all this other stuff. And remember, this is over years. And how many of y'all text y'all significant other? How often? Y'all probably got 100 texts a day, 200 texts a day, just texting back and forth talking. So I don't know if we can really feel like that is, that they didn't put all of the texts in there. But what I will say is this: if I believe that the prosecution should have put some of those texts in there, just so when they talk to the witness, they could then put it in the perspective that they would have wanted it to be in, rather than the defense bring it up and the defense having total control over that narrative. I think that the prosecution might have missed there. I think that that was a mistake. I think that you want to be able to control the narrative. And I think that when the prosecution leaves information out like this, so they're not able to have these conversations with the witness when they have the witness on the stand, I think that they're allowing for the defense to then be able to create a narrative that they aren't even opposing. They're not even opposing this. They're not even attempting to oppose this. There is no opposition because they haven't spoken on it. And I think that that hurts them. That's my opinion, though. Love to know what you guys think. I actually had lunch first. I don't know when it starts back up. I'm about to get ready to go back in the building, though. I love y'all. We're going to be back a little bit later in the day, I guess, at either a break or at the end of the day. What time is it? It's 1:30. Either at the break or at the end of the day, we'll be back. It's how you look at it at the end of the day. There's a lot of text messages between Jane Doe, an alleged victim, and Puff, and it doesn't sound like she's a victim in these. Talking about the lady I could barely hear her. Y'all can hear her? Yeah, a lot of the people down here want Puff want Puff gone. A lot of the people that's doing this content, they're anti-Puff. Wait until they find out what's really happening in Hollywood and what's really happening in the music industry. You'll be like, you know what? I was harder on Puff than I should have been. When you really find out how these people is giving it up, and some of the people that y'all love to death. Oh, you talking about the lady I had on my live? I think she had a lot of good points. I think Tissa Tells, that's who you're speaking on. I think she had a lot of good points. I can't think of an argument organically while we were speaking. I couldn't think of, I guess if I go look over all the paperwork or something like that, but I couldn't think of a real argument she had that was bad. I think that her perspective she had a good perspective. I don't know what to tell you. I think that she had a good perspective. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying I disagree with it. I'm just saying that I believe it to be valid due to the information that we're getting in the courtroom. And for everything that she said, she was able to back it up with something that was happening in court. So unless somebody actually has facts that oppose her facts, I don't know. If she believes the things that she's saying to be true, then why wouldn't she want, whoever would have been the individual that she believes did these things, why wouldn't she want them in jail? Why wouldn't she want them in prison? So, just so we can be clear. So, I don't think she did anything wrong. I hope to have her on again. And I would like to hear her perspective on more things that happen in the trial. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care what. I have no horse in this race. 0 horses. I'm perfectly fine with whatever your perspective is. I'm perfectly fine with however you perceive the facts to be stacking. I don't have, and I think that you got a right to voice your opinion. I'm the media. I'm not somebody trying to curate a narrative. Well, there's always 3 different stories. That's what that person said, what that person said, and what actually happened. So no, I think everybody, if you come on my platform, you get the right to talk about how you feel. I'm not gonna stand here and tell you what you should be saying or shouldn't be saying. You got the right to voice whatever your opinion might be. Why would I have you on my platform and I don't want you to voice your opinion? That don't make sense. I already know what I think. What the hell? I think she did a great job, by the way. One of my best guests, one of the most informed guests I've ever had on. Every single thing that she said, she had facts to line up with. So I have no issue. I think she did a great job. Shout out to Tisa. Hope I'm saying the name right. She's pretty as hell too. Look like Berto, the boxer. Dude look like the boxer Berto. So, nah, you got a right to have whatever perspective you want. That's the way I think. Period. The hell do I know? 1, I wasn't there. 2, I've never been invited to a freak off. 3, don't invite me to a freak off. That goes completely against my religion. Against my belief system. Shout out to the Most High, glory be to God, Jesus is King. I don't want to be a part of no freak offs. Don't invite me, because then we won't be friends no more.
Amen.
That's a fact. We ain't gonna be friends. That's a fact. So don't invite me. I don't care that you're a part of them. I'm not gonna judge you. Romans 2. But don't invite me, because then you make me a part of the situation. I don't want to be a part of the situation. All right? But I'm not going to judge you. Romans 2. Just so we can be clear. But I don't want to be a part of the situation. That's not the type of stuff I'm on. All right? Hello.
Hi.
Chilling.
Hi, babe. Are you filming? Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask her if she wanted to say her perspective. She started talking to the other chick too quick. So I was like, all right, you want to get out of here. I'm going to let you.
Oh, but the fence is across.
She cutie too.
Yeah.
You can tell by her voice she light skinned. She pretty too.
That's why I came out here.
Anyway, I think I'm gonna let y'all go, and then I'm gonna come back a little bit later. There's no real new information being given. I'll let y'all know what happened. So they had 2 forensic individuals, the people that are aggregating. Well, after they already aggregated the text messages and the videos and everything, they're giving it to 2 people. They could draw up charts, 2 independent people, 2 separate people, the prosecution team. And one of them is on the stand right now. And the wild part about this to me is, at first, I'm like, why would the prosecution put these individuals that's basically giving the same exact information? Because it's... But now I understand why the defense... I really don't know what to believe. Only thing I know is I seen him near the hell out of Sierra. I don't. You got to rewrite that, Logan. Put your perspectives in the chat. You got to rewrite that, Logan. I don't understand that sentence. No, she definitely look like she's from LA. She bad. I ain't gonna lie to you. Sheesh. Anyway, let me get back to what I'm doing. I get distracted sometimes. Yo, nah, you gotta rewrite that. I don't know what you're saying, fam. And I want to respond back to it. So with that being said, I just want to be clear about this. So you got now I understand. I guess I know understand. Funny. Pretty as hell, man. I was gonna ask her if she wanted to say her opinion, but I don't really know her that well. And she walked past me and started talking to the other lady, so I let her go. I can focus just fine, sis. I can do all of the focusing. Dude was asking me, and we gonna cover the Mangione. I don't know if I'm gonna cover the Mangione. I don't really care to. For everybody that don't know, that's the individual that killed the guy that was the CEO of the insurance company. And then you got a lot of people that's like, good they killed them. And we gotta be better than that, y'all. We gotta be better than that. Like, we can't be on that type of time. We can't be out here wishing harm and death on one another. You know what I'm saying? Wish your friends and family and your strangers prosperity. We can't be out here wishing harm on people. Like, that's not what God wants us to be doing. I really don't know what to believe. Only thing I know is that he beat the hell out of Sierra in that hotel. Not Sierra. See what I'm saying? You keep saying Sierra. Are you talking about Cassie? You talking about he beat the hell out of Cassie? What I find interesting is Jane Doe said that he didn't get physical with her, except for one time after she attacked him. How do you feel about that? Jane Doe got on the stand and said that Diddy never got physical with her except for this one time after she attacked him first. See, so none of this helps the prosecution, because now instead of Diddy looking like he just out here attacking bitches, what Diddy actually looks like is that there was a situation that happened and he wasn't able to control himself in that moment. Jane Doe said he never put hands on her. There's a ton of text messages where him and Jane Doe arguing. So maybe he learned from the Cassie situation and that's why he never put hands on another woman. I don't know. Maybe he felt like he could hit Cassie. I don't know. I haven't gotten the slightest idea. But these are all arguments that somebody that believes those things could come about with. Jay Cash says, I think Puff just had all of them all school and promised them a lot of money. That's what so he promised them money? Yeah, but Cassie just won a lawsuit, 20 million. And before that, she was like living regular, allegedly. So, sheesh. I don't know. Like,
All right, so this is the post that was shared in the live in 2018, and she was talking about how long.
yo, am I buffing over there?
In this post right here, it says, "Good morning,
Am I buffering? Anyway, wait, that's Neek at night? She's pretty in real life. I don't know how anybody looks because I don't look at anybody's pages because people always want to argue with me for no reason. So I don't. So it's never no disrespect to nobody, but I don't be watching people's pages because there's always weirdos that want to argue with me for no reason. That's Neek at night. She's pretty as hell.
that she has." Well, recently, Crystal decided to become Instagram public.
And I've literally watched her live streams before. I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I've literally watched her live streams before. Sat in on her chat, commenting and everything. But of course she's pretty, so that's why I watch her live stream. I'm gonna keep it a stack. If you're pretty, I'm gonna sit there for a little while. I'm funny as shit. I'm being honest though. Jane Doe got on the stand, help Puff. I think that it would have, and I'm not saying the prosecution. I'm not saying I wanted the prosecution to do this because I don't got a dog in this fight. I don't care what the hell happened. But I will say this: I think it would have benefited the prosecution if they would have been co-conspirators, and then they would have just said these are co-conspirators, and we're gonna have them testify in order for us to give them the paperwork to remove their charges. I think that would have benefited the prosecution because now when you get on the stand and these people are talking, they're not talking from the perspective that they're innocent of anything. You understand? Now they're talking from the perspective of they were a part of the criminal organization. RICO! And I think that actually hurts the prosecution. But that's my opinion. You can have your own perspective. But I think in the future, they're just gonna hit everybody with the y'all conspirators in the future. If this don't go the way that they want it to, like even if they get the guilty, but they don't get the guilty the way that they want it, if this don't go the way that they want it to, I promise you, these are the things I think is gonna happen. That's Nika Knight. She is pretty. She is pretty. She's thick as hell too. She tall.
And privately, like this is her shoe. You didn't have to post y'all on the internet. Why would you?
She's tall. I like short girls. But she pretty as hell. I date her, even though she's tall ass. We just have to have some kids taller than me. Anyway, and look, I love y'all. I'm gonna go back in there and see what else is happening. And I haven't necessarily been listening to what she's been saying, but Neek at Night always has great commentary. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Like, I really do be appreciating other people on other pages. But you can't let people, like, I just shouted out her. You know how many people is gonna run up to her in a minute and try to tell her all of the reasons why she should hate me? Like, she about to have like a ton of people come up to her to talk shit about me for no reason. Because black people. That's what we do. We talk shit about one another for no reason. How you doing? Told you I like short girls, man. Curly hair don't hurt either. Anyway, I'm gonna let y'all go. Everybody have a blessed day. I'm out. Go out there, do something worth doing, stamp God's name on it. Let people know that you come in the name of the Most High. I'm out. All right.